In other games, people celebrate what they get. In Second Life, we scrutinize what we buy. A creator's tweets made me think about two things: the blurred truth behind original mesh, and why residents here expect flawless rigging when other platforms get away with much less. A fashion designer venting about discovering a mesh file on ArtStation that had been released in Second Life by a well-known store, marketed as original mesh. For him, it raised a bigger question. Why pour energy into creating truly original work for Second Life if someone else can just buy a mesh kit, slap a texture on it, and claim it's unique? I get why he's frustrated. That kind of thing can sap motivation from even the most passionate creator. But for me, as a consumer, the experience feels very different. Not long ago, I bought a set from a brand I genuinely love. Their style fits mine perfectly, and I've always assumed they were making everything themselves. A few weeks later, while browsing Flickr, I saw the exact same set, but from another creator, only with different textures. Obvious from the silhouette. Same template mesh, 2 textures, 2 labels. It wasn't the first time this had happened. More than once, I've scrolled through the marketplace and recognized raw meshes I'd already purchased as a finished product from a popular brand. The moment is always the same. A little pause, a small, "Oh, so they don't actually make this themselves." Then I move on. Because honestly, I don't have the time nor the desire to investigate the origin of every product I buy. Here's my honest take as a shopper. If I like the product and it's high quality, fairly priced, and meets my expectations, I'm happy. I've been a picky, even critical buyer over the years. If I keep returning to a brand, it's because they consistently deliver, not because they're claiming to be handcrafting every single polygon. Watching someone like Aglaya from Good Morning work is a completely different experience. She spends months creating animations for a single piece of furniture. Every detail is intentional, from the way a body shifts in a chair to the subtlety of a hand resting on an armrest. That kind of dedication blows me away and deepens my appreciation for truly original work. But if another brand buys a mesh and does exceptional textures, markets it well, and gives me a finished product I love, I'm okay with that. The deciding factor isn't whether they started with a purchased mesh. It's the final experience I get as a consumer. The line gets crossed when brands lie about their process. If a creator is claiming 100% original mesh while simply reselling or retexturing a purchased asset, that's misleading. And that matters because original mesh is a selling point. It suggests you're paying for exclusive artistry and craftsmanship, not a pre-made base that others can buy too. The tricky part is, how would we ever really know? Most shoppers don't have time to investigate. Nobody's browsing the marketplace with the mindset of, "Let me cross-check this against 3D asset sites before I buy." We just want to decorate our homes, dress our avatars, or grab that perfect new chair and move on with our lives. So, for me, it comes down to trust. If a brand is honest about what they do, and I love their work, they'll have my loyalty. If they brag about originality while deceiving their customers, that's when I walk away. For consumers like me, this issue is mostly about honesty and quality. From the perspective of true original creators, this hits on a whole other level. Imagine spending weeks or even months creating a mesh from scratch. You sculpt it, rig it, test it, refine it, and pour your artistic vision into every detail. Then you release it, proud of what you've made, only to see someone else buy a pre-made mesh, tweak it slightly, and loudly declare it as original work. Suddenly, your painstaking effort is competing with someone who invested a fraction of the time and money. It undermines the entire concept of original creation and fair competition in Second Life's creator economy. This tension between purchased meshes and original creations isn't new. It's part of a broader conversation about Second Life's marketplace, intellectual property, and what we value as a community. From a customer standpoint, I don't think most of us care whether a mesh started from scratch or was bought pre-made as long as we love the final product. From a creator standpoint, though, these practices can discourage true innovation. If the people pushing boundaries are constantly undercut by those reselling or misrepresenting their work, why bother trying to break new ground? As a consumer, my focus is simple. Is the product beautiful and functional? Does the brand treat me well and deliver quality consistently? Are they honest about what they do? If the answer to those questions is yes, I'll keep buying. But I also see the bigger picture. If Second Life wants to continue evolving, there has to be space and protection for the creators who actually build from the ground up. Without them, everything risks becoming just another reskinned asset in a sea of sameness. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. It's a warning of what happens when originality loses its value for both the creators pouring in the work and the residents buying their products. Another issue raised was about rigging standards in Second Life. How even the tiniest bit of clipping gets called out, while in other games, wild clipping is shrugged off as acceptable. And he's right. In Second Life, we expect nothing short of perfection, but in other games, players happily overlook glaring flaws. Take Once Human, for example. It's a survival game, gritty and immersive, and yet looks matter. Cosmetics are expensive, sometimes shockingly so, and a lot of them are gacha, which makes it even worse. But here's the kicker. The quality of those cosmetics, the rigging, the details, the clipping, it's all miles behind what you'd get in Second Life. And yet, the players rave about it. They post screenshots, brag about their avatars in social groups, and celebrate their cosmetics like they've unlocked the Holy Grail. They don't notice the flaws, or if they do, they don't care. Because in their world, that's the standard. As a Second Life resident, though, I notice immediately. Once you've lived in a world where you can have close to perfection, where creators push boundaries and consumers demand polish, you can't unsee it. You're trained to spot that tiny sliver of skin clipping through fabric, and once you do, it feels unacceptable. In Second Life, the expectation is, if I've paid good money for it, it had better be flawless. If I see clipping, if I notice a rigging error, I don't shrug. I get annoyed. Second Life residents don't just notice imperfections. They take action. They message creators, demand fixes, or stop buying from that brand altogether. And then they may take it one step further. They go to social media and warn everyone else. The standard is high and enforced by the community itself. That's a very different dynamic than other platforms. In World of Warcraft or Fortnite, clipping and deformers are just part of the experience. In Second Life, they're a deal breaker. Part of it is cultural. Second Life has built itself around the idea that your avatar is you. Your clothes, your animations, your furniture. These aren't just skins or cosmetics. They're a reflection of your identity and creativity. Another part of it is economic. Second Life doesn't sell millions of identical skins the way mainstream games do. Instead, it runs on micro creators competing for a picky, highly invested audience. In that environment, perfection becomes the currency. If you can't deliver, someone else will. And then there's simple exposure. Once you know perfection is possible, you demand it. A new player in Once Human might be thrilled with their rugged, slightly glitchy jacket. A seasoned Second Life resident sees the same jacket and thinks, that would never fly where I come from. Second Life's demand for perfection is both its strength and its curse. On one hand, it pushes creators to deliver some of the best virtual goods you'll find anywhere. On the other, it can make life miserable for creators who feel like one tiny flaw will get them dragged on social media. In other games, people celebrate what they get. In Second Life, we scrutinize what we buy. Both cultures make sense within their own worlds, but only in Second Life do we chase the impossible dream of pixel-perfect perfection. Second Life is caught between two pressures: the demand for honesty about what's truly original, and the demand for perfection in every pixel we buy. One is about protecting the craft of creators, the other about protecting the experience of consumers. Together, they shape the culture we live in world every day. Maybe the bigger question isn't whether we should accept imperfections or purchased meshes, but what kind of standards we actually want to uphold as a community. Do we value transparency more than perfection? Or is it perfection that makes us demand transparency in the first place? What do you think matters most for Second Life's future? Originality, perfection, or simply products that make us happy to log in? In the end, it's not originality or perfection that defines Second Life. It's the sacred right to throw a tantrum over a pixel poking through your shirt.